almost an impossible situation, particularly when we have such a loose-minded individual in the White House. This is very hard to sleep these nights. Are you having trouble sleeping? Is anyone else being kept awake by this war that's going on against us? I love Obama says it's not a war. King of Jordan says it's a war. Russia says it's a war. France says it's a war, but not him. Oh, no, he's above it all. He's in the clouds. No, there's no war for President Zero. No, it's just a few nuts, few loose screws who all happen to be united by a religion. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a student of history, and I do know the difference between these idiots, these maniacs, these homicidal maniacs, and those who practice classical Islam, and there is a big difference. Trust me, I know history. Trust me, I know the difference between classical Islam, as practiced by the King of Jordan, for example, and these crazy, insane 7th century throwbacks, these subhumans, as it were. But you have to ask yourself, are you not afraid that your government isn't going to protect you? I mean, that's the only question I'm raising today. Do you actually think your government can protect you from these crazy people, these evil people, these hateful Muslims? Do you think that they can protect you? Because I know they can't. I know that they've tied the hands of our Air Force, our Navy, our Marines, our Special Forces. They've tied the hands of our police. They've tied the hands of our border agents. They have literally tied the hands of every American. And so we the people are facing down the barrel of a gun. And we don't know what to do about it. Now, I got to tell you something else. This terrible thing that happened in Paris was a huge mistake for these throwbacks. Because had they not done that, they were on the road to conquering France simply by their birth rate, their demographics. They could have taken over all of France were it not for these subhumans, because there's nothing human about them. Anyone who would walk into a cafe with a machine gun and execute them is a subhuman. They've fallen below the level of a human being. Anyone who would execute young girls who are at a dance as they're screaming and enjoy the bloodshed is a subhuman. You have to ask yourself, how did they get that way? You really want to analyze this? How do they reach that point? We learned that one of them, the so-called mastermind piece of garbage, according to his ex-wife, they were given 1,000 euros a month to live, I think, in Germany. I'm not sure where. France, wherever they were. And she said there wasn't enough money for them. You hear? He sat home and watched TV all day and smoked marijuana. Now, how did he go from being a slacker loser to becoming a homicidal maniac? What is it that happened in his mind that twisted his mind to enable him to engage in such horrible acts? Where did he get the ideas from? Well, we hear that they're recruited online. You know, and what are they told online? What is the justification online for their future acts of terror? The Holy Book itself. What Holy Book? The Old Testament? No. The New Testament? No. The teachings of Buddha? No. The teachings of the Hindus? No. Why, it's the Holy Book itself. They get the ideas right out of the Holy Book. Now, I know that even though the Holy Book that they use to justify their insane murderous acts contain over 112 references to kill the infidel, I'm sorry to tell you that. Now, I've also been very fair on this subject because I have in my hand a copy of the Old Testament. I've seen the vile hatred in the Old Testament as well. I've said it. I'm not saying it for effect. I'm originally a scholar, and I use my scholarly mind to tell you the truth the best I can. So when I pick up the Jewish Bible, the Holy Scriptures, the 5 books of Moses, I see hatred in there. You go read Leviticus. I've read it over and over again. She's an adulterous killer, a gay killer. This killer, and turn the garment and look in the garment, and a louse killed a louse. It's amazing, the hatred in Leviticus. Any beast of which you may eat, this and that. Fire and brimstone. But the fact of the matter is, people have evolved beyond this. They don't follow the teachings as though they're literal. I know Orthodox Jews. I don't hear them talking about bombing places where people congregate and do things that they find detestable. They say, let them do it, and God will punish them. And I'll do the right thing, and they can do the wrong thing. And that's what they do. They live in Sodom and Gomorrah, but they don't hurt anybody in Sodom and Gomorrah. And they know the difference between the law of the beast and the law of man. And they don't practice what Leviticus says to do to gays and to adulterers, for example. But unfortunately, there are millions and millions of people who take the Quran literally and still follow this 5,000-year-old book, which was then modified, let us say, by their prophet. And they take it literally. And so as a young Muslim woman who's been trying to get the message out has said to the world, only a reformation in Islam can save the world from these madmen. You know that there is no reformation. There's been no reformation in Islam. Jews went through a reformation. Christians have gone through reformations. But there's only one religion that's never been reformed. They're living in another universe, another time. And so let's put a litmus test on the refugees that Obama seems to embrace and tells us they're all women and children. How many of them embrace their holy book as though it's the literal truth? That wouldn't be a bad question, would it? Would that be a bad question to ask during the so-called interview process that they're not conducting? Like, do you read the Quran, yes or no? Do you believe it's the holy truth, yes or no? Do you follow the book to the letter of the law, yes or no? They say yes. Would you let them in? Yes or no? I mean, logic? But I unfortunately have no power. I'm only a talk show host and an author. That's all. One man's opinion. Where is the common sense in these people who are running this government zero? Where is there? Where is the common sense amongst any of them? Are they so brainwashed and so evil in their own thinking that they would put party above nation? What a question, yes. They do it every time in every way. They lie, cheat, and steal any way they can to make sure they have as many Democrat voters so they never lose power again. Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. This is the most corrupt administration imaginable. On that pleasant note, back in a minute.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Hey, our Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust for wealth insurance, gold and silver. Call 800-BUYCO. So, are you having trouble sleeping over the terror attacks? Do you fear that your government is not protecting you? Do you know what must be done to protect America? Are any of these questions at all operational in an American mind that's filled with people like Howard Stern, sports, strip teasers? Does it even cross your mind that you're in danger when you listen to such ludicrous garbage? Is your hat on backwards? Do you have any idea what's going on in your country? Well, I don't know if the people even know what happened. They're French, man, they say, it ain't going to happen here. We got a real tough guy in the White House. He'll protect us. Let them all in. They're just a bunch of racist white crackers that don't want in people of color. That's all. That's it. Is that what you're going to hear at the Thanksgiving table from your liberal moron relatives? We already heard it today. There's the Washington Post put out the propaganda sheet. Most Americans opposed admitting Jewish refugees before World War II. As if there's a comparison between Einstein and all of the others who were brought into this country and the unvetted refugees coming in from Syria. You're telling me that there's an Einstein amongst them? Who is he? Have you identified him? Have you identified any sterling individuals who this country really needs amongst that pack of Syrians that are coming in? Have you found any of them yet? Have you heard about him? And Einstein, who we wanted to bring in? Or anyone like that? Where are they? Don't you understand how ludicrous this is, that liberalism, the mental disorder, continues to justify itself, even in the face of obvious failures? Another hour. Be here or be nowhere.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected talk, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
It is hour number 3. We made it to the third hour on the Savage Nation, and there's only one question that's on everyone's mind, which is, why is the madman in the White House doubling down on his insistence on shoveling Muslims from the war-torn Syrian landscape down our throats when 30 states have said no, every poll has said no, and yet the liberals keep doubling down with the fallacious arguments that it's our values and humanitarianism. Now they come up with a bigger lie, which is that it's just like the attitude towards Jews in the 1930s. And they come up with a poll from 1938 showing that in exactly the same way, in exactly the same numbers of Americans were opposed to admitting 10,000 Jewish refugees. So, so we're bigots. Right away, the Jewish question comes up immediately. This is the liberals. They go to ground. Every time there's a national issue like this, they go back to ground. And again, they bring up this analogy, which is a false one, by the way. And it's false for a number of reasons. There was no international conspiracy of German Jews in the 1930s to take over the world. There was no conspiracy among German Jews in the 1930s to wear suicide belts. That's one point. Another point is that we are a Judeo-Christian nation. Since its founding, we are not a Muslim-Christian nation. That's number 2. No plans of jihad amongst Jews in the 1930s. No secret chats amongst the Jews of the 1930s to machine gun people in cafes, sporting events, concert halls. As you well know, it's a big lie. And again, they're trying to use the victims of the Holocaust to push their illegitimate liberalism. You want to join the conversation on that? Go ahead. Here's another story that's it's very disturbing. I mean, these are disturbing times. Did the U.S. let the mad Muslim kill in Paris? That's my headline. Why? Because a story came out last night that said U.S. intelligence assessed last May that foreshadowed the complex ISIS attacks aimed at the West. An unclassified May 2015 intelligence assessment published by the Department of Homeland Security's Intelligence and Analysis Directorate warns of ISIS's potential for carrying out complex attacks against Western targets. And even singles out the man believed to be the mastermind behind last week's terror attacks in Paris. So in other words, the FBI and DHS singled out this vermin, this subhuman. They singled out the subhuman as a dangerous man, and they did nothing about it. So the question, it begs the question, did the U.S. let the mad Muslim kill? If they knew that he was a bad guy who was liable to go off, why didn't they detain him? Which leads us round to the same point I've been making for days. Why is there no preventive attacks right now by the FBI and DHS breaking in doors like they did in France and pulling them out by their filthy scarves before they kill some of us? Why is it that the French finally went and broke doors down and blew up an entire floor of that rat's nest to kill the bad ones and get a few of them out before they blew up Charles de Gaulle Airport, or they were going after the Charles de Gaulle Airport or a supermarket? The FBI knows that they're about to strike. Why don't they break down a door and drag them out and throw them into a dark cell and let the ACLU go to hell? Take the ACLU and throw them in the cell with them, and let the ACLU have their friends with them in the cell. Let's see how they treat them. The ACLU boys from NYU and Stanford. Throw them in a cell with the members that they're going to protect, and let them spend a few nights with them, and see how well they're treated. Well, you know it's not going to happen. You know it's not going to happen. It's just raging against the machine of insanity. That's all I do every day. Yeah, I am lucky I have a podium where I can vent what you're feeling. You know that you're thinking the same as me, even if you won't admit it. You know you're thinking all of these thoughts. Any rational person would be thinking this way. But you're not expressing it because you're afraid. You've been intimidated. You've been bullied. That's right. Liberals are bullies. Did you know that? They've bullied you into not even expressing your own thoughts. They've bullied you. And so if you express common sense about protecting yourself and your family, they bully you. They name your name. Also, we had Donald Trump on in the first hour. If you missed the interview, too bad. I don't know where you're going to catch it. I asked him, what would you do right now to stop ISIS if you were president? I asked Donald Trump, when you are president, would you deport all of the Muslim refugees that